What is going on, minties? This is the Uncanny Omar here from Near Mint Condition, and today join me as I take a look at my final haul of 2019. This is my haul for December of 2019, so please stay tuned. And we are kicking off this haul with some Christmas gifts. Now, here's something my cousin got me. This is a Thanos holiday sweater pop figure. I don't really collect pop figures anymore, but every once in a while, I try to get one that stands out. And, dude, he's wearing a death sweater? Come on, that's awesome. Nice little Green Lantern wristband, yeah? Now, let's look through the Kyle pile. My buddy Kyle sent me some Christmas gifts. We've got this is the Yen Press Star Wars. This is pretty interesting manga here. And what's interesting about this Lost Stars is that the original story is by Claudia Gray, but the art and adaptation is a manga here. So this is interesting because I thought that Marvel owned the rights to all of Star Wars. I know that's going to be some OCD right there, so let's do it this way. 1, 2, and 3. But this is published by Yen Press. I haven't read any of this. I don't know what it's about at all. From the looks of it, I don't think it's any of the main cast. So no idea what to expect. Perhaps it's based on the novels, or perhaps it's based on some of the expanded universe from the comics. I'm not sure, but I just saw Darth Vader. So, cool. Got Zombies versus Robots. This is an IDW Omnibus. And if you're familiar with the term Omnibus at IDW, know that the books are a lot smaller than most. Here's Rome West. So let's look at that and I'll compare the size here. This is a book published by Dark Horse. Yeah, and I have no idea what some of these books are, but I'm very excited to read them. He knows my taste in comic books vary, so he's usually pretty spot on. Some mad shout out to my boy Kyle. But yes, this is what they consider an omnibus at IDW. They're softcover, they're a lot smaller than a trade paperback, but most of the time they're all self-contained. This is Zombies versus Robots. And most of the stuff I want to say is drawn by Ashley Wood. I think most people are probably familiar with his stuff from, what was it that he did? Oh, the Metal Gear comic. And actually, that's not Ashley Wood. The beginning looks like, yeah, this is Ashley Wood artwork here. And then we have from Archaea, this is Dark Light. Again, I can't flip too much through here because I don't know what some of these stories are. And sometimes I just like diving into a book without any knowledge of what the book is about. It's as a comic book reader, and as I don't read that many books anymore without pretty pictures. But when I used to read them, sometimes I didn't want to know the premise of the books, and sometimes I'm that way with movies. Gideon Falls Volume 3. I know I can't flip too much through here because I just finished Volume 2 during my Christmas break, and I assume this is the finale. So I hope that this is Jeff Lemire and Andre, that's right. I think somebody told me how to pronounce his last name. Andre Sorrentino. And I think it's their last book. And this is published by Image. Another one that I hope gets a deluxe edition is Coda. Just finished volume 2 the other day of this. This is a gorgeous freaking book. I met the creators when I was at Baltimore Comic Con, and I asked them if there was ever going to be a deluxe edition. Just look at some of this beautiful artwork with the colors. Simon Spurrier, or Cy Spurrier, he's the gentleman that wrote Legion, the X-Men Legion book. And Matthias Bergara, who I'm not familiar with and really enjoyed his art. Okay, moving on a little quicker, we have The Empty Man. This is Manifestation. I believe this is volume 2 or 3 of Colin Bunn's run. I haven't started reading that series yet. Next up, we have Shanghai Red. This is by Christopher Sabella. And the artist, this guy right here, Joshua Hickson, I want to say he's the guy that drew The Black Woods, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody could correct me in the comments down below, because his art style looks very familiar. The next Black Hammer book from Dark Horse. Hopefully all this stuff, these are the little short stories. Hopefully all this stuff will be collected in some kind of library edition when Lemire's all said and done with all his stuff over at Dark Horse. Let's see if this works any better. Next up from Archaea Studios is Feeding Ground. And no idea what this is about. I haven't even heard about this, so I'm curious to know what this is about. Some of these look like really quick reads. I love just sitting one afternoon or sometimes during my lunch break and just reading them. Now this I've heard a lot of things about. This is New York by Oliver Van Teen, and this is a European comic book that, yes, has been translated into English. It is published by Dark Horse. It is a very unique, it looks like a magnetic press book just because of the dimensions of it. Post-apocalyptic future. Let's look at some of this artwork. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Rizzo, Eduardo Rizzo, and some like Tim Sale stuff. But I really like his art. It looks gorgeous, and I haven't read it, but I haven't read the book, but I've heard a lot of people talk about it. There's another book here that I'm hyped to read, so this might be next on my reading pile. Doesn't look like it will take that much long. And yeah, post-apocalyptic future about a young boy trying to survive. Now, I did do an overview of Transformers already, but I have not done, and here's something. Let's do this really quick, and then we'll get to the next pile. My friend Nash Villains, Raph, thank you so much. He found me the Ghostbusters Mass Hysteria book. Probably one of the hardest wells that I had to try to find. I looked for this book everywhere. It's been out of print. My buddy Kyle originally got me hooked on it. He got me volumes 1 and 2 of the hardcovers, and they never did a volume 4 of the hardcovers. But this is the Ghostbusters ongoing series. This is the hardest one to find, and he was able to find it for me at a shop somewhere. I don't remember where he was, but thank you so much, Raph. Nash Villains, my buddy. I really appreciate you. When you sent me the picture, I got all excited. I was like, oh my god, you actually found it. So yes, this is from IDW Studios, the hardcovers. These are collected in trade paperback format and also available through digital, but you all know how I like physical. Next up, we have Silver Surfer Epic Collection. This is Volume 1. This is a reprint of Volume 1. And I missed out on the original printing. I may do a Silver Surfer reading comprehensive order sometime. A lot of this stuff, actually 90% of this stuff, is in the Fantastic Four Omnibus Volumes 1 and 2, I want to say. So I didn't really need it, but for completest sake, that's why I ended up getting it. Another purchase that I've already bought the original comics and the original printing of the trade paperbacks. But this is Uncanny XMen collection by Chris Claremont. This one's called The End of History, Reload Volume 1. This collects a big chunk of his run. He's teamed up with Alan Davis, Oliver Copiel, Salvador La Roca, all kinds of artists. Sean Chen, there's La Roca's issue right here. And actually, yeah, this is the first time we see X-23 join the X-Men or have anything to do with the X-Men, because before then she was in those issues of NYX by Joe Quesada and very little to do with the X-Men. But yeah, this is where Chris Claremont introduces her to the team. And yeah, it's Chris Claremont's second return to X-Men. Some more Christmas gifts. This is Abara from my brother, actually got me this. I've been wanting this hardcover, and it's one of those things that I completely forgot existed. But I love the artist of the book, and I have not read this. It looks like a really quick read, honestly. And here's a pull-out poster. Just gorgeous artwork. No idea what the story's about, but I'm a big fan of the artist, so that's the main reason why he knew to get me this. I love that my family knows me too well. Now here's the book I've been waiting for a long time. I already own this. It was one of my favorite comics. This is 4 kids walk into a bank, and it is Matthew Rosenberg's, I think, masterpiece. I would love to see a movie made of these characters. These 4 kids, and really quickly, like, one of their dads is a bank robber, and I love this. Each of the issues starts off with them doing either RPGs or Dungeons and Dragons or playing video games. They all start out differently. Okay, here we go. Like you see a side scroller beat 'em up, right? It's a really great book. It's finally available. This was only available before at comic book stores. The hardcover was, but now it's available everywhere. All right, so let's get to some more hardcovers. This is another book that my buddy Kyle sent me. This is Voltron, Defender of the Universe Omnibus. This is the DDP collection, and all of this stuff here is in hardcover. I didn't know about that, and you may recognize the artist here. That is Mark Brooks. That kicks it off. I read this stuff as it was coming out because I was a huge fan of Voltron, and I don't think anyone has ever reprinted this stuff. And he was able to find me the complete collection. This is a huge book. That actually the other book I'm about to show you is the one that really surprised me. I didn't know it even existed. I have no clue where Kyle even found this one, but this is the Dark Crystal creation myths. A lot of it is based on Brian Froud's stuff in here, and he is the original concept designer of the Dark Crystal, Labyrinth, among other stuff. He's a wonderful artist, and actually his son now works on the current Dark Crystal TV show. So, it is the comic book I think it is a prequel to the Dark Crystal. I haven't read it. I didn't even know this thing existed. I absolutely love that cover. Dark Crystal is one of my favorite books. If you haven't seen the new TV show, it is wonderful. And this was published by Archaea Studios. Okay, I don't think any video or any pictures or anything can do this next book justice. I've just read the first chapter, or I guess the first few pages. This is Chris Ware's Rusty Brown. It is a look at individuals. I think there's going to be a total of like 4 or 5, and their everyday lives. And no matter what I say, it's not going to do it justice. It's kind of depressing, actually. So I will say that you may want to be in a good mood before you read this. Even the first the first chapter that I read it was a downer, but it's so true to life, though, and I really enjoyed it. I haven't read his other stuff, and I know a lot of people have praised about it, but this is my first Chris Ware book that I've ever read, and oh my God, I'm blown away so far by just his art. I don't know if he's a graphic design graduate or what, but there's just so much amount of detail and just meticulous little things just everywhere. And the only gripe I have is that the way that this is printed, it's kind of hard to read sometimes, and it's kind of hard to do some of these panels justice, right? Like when you're looking down here, you got black letters on gray tones sometimes. It's a little hard to read, but man, it is such a good book. Maybe this is the one time I may have to check it out digitally. Even the dust jacket is really cool and handy, like the way that it's made. Oh, it looks like a library book that Rusty Brown checked out. It's a very, very cool book. Next up is Wonder Woman, The Just War. This is by G. Willow Wilson, who was the lady that was writing and created Miss Marvel at Marvel Comics. And now she is writing Wonder Woman. Now, I pre-ordered this hardcover thinking that it was going to be a deluxe hardcover because that's what they had at the time. But it is not. It is the size of a trade paperback, which really breaks my heart. So I hope one day DC decides to go back to the deluxe hardcovers and start collecting this stuff in oversized format. The artist on this is Carrie Nord, though, and I was a big fan of Carrie Nord's back during the mid-90s, right before I stopped reading comic books. So it's good to see him drawing. His art style has changed a little bit. Looks a little bit more cartoony, but it is still really solid. And here we have DC versus Marvel. I used to have this trade paperback. I sold this trade paperback. My buddy Kyle found me this trade paperback. And the reason I sold it was because I had very, very high hopes that omnibus that they had solicited on Amazon was actually going to come out. But it never did. Like, they solicited this omnibus for a couple of years, and I think I even pre-ordered it, and then my pre-orders got canceled, and sadly it never came out. But this contains that whole event, DC versus Marvel, all 4 issues. There's a forward here by Mike Carlin, who was the director, or he was the executive director at DC Comics, I want to say. Yeah, that's what he was. Anyway, this collects all 4 issues, plus for some reason Doctor Strange Fate. So hopefully one day we'll get some kind of omnibus with all this wonderful stuff in there. Oh man, this was such a cool... Yes, it was a nice little ploy at trying to get people to buy comics and vote for their favorite heroes, but it was so cool to see these characters fight each other. This is the 90s DC versus Marvel. This thing is really hard to find for some reason, so thanks, Kyle. I can't believe you found me this again. Back where it belongs, home, until that omnibus comes out. Now, this is an omnibus I didn't do an overview off on the channel, so I am going to go a little bit through here. But before I do, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. If you've made it this far, I assume you've already have been subscribed, but don't forget to hit that notifications button. Now, this is the remaining issues of Garth Ennis's Punisher. This is his Max series, so it's adult-oriented. And honestly, some people will tell you whether it really fits into continuity or not, whether it's canon or not. I like to think it is, because there's some damn fine storytelling here. It is grotesque. It is awesome, though. And it's not that over the top as you would imagine. But he is no longer with Steve Dillon. Steve Dillon had moved on to other projects by now. He's mainly joined by Goran Parlov and Leonardo Fernandez. That was his name. And Howard Chaykin actually does some of the artwork in here. So it contains Punisher Max 31 through 60, the Barracuda series, and then Punisher The End, which he wrote. And it is a great book and a great addition to anybody's library if you've not read this. It is not for the faint of heart, though, because some of this stuff is pretty raunchy and awesome. Okay, moving on to the final phase. I've done an overview of X-Men Shattershot, Animal Man, and Flash Omnibus by Jeff Johns on the channel. Now, let's play it safe and try to do some of artworks from these books right here. These are Sunstone. So we have Sunstone Volumes 1 and Volume 2. Maddie, oh good God, thank goodness. Maddie is the one that wanted to check this out. She wanted to do an overview of it. Here, let's look at Volume 1 really quick. Gotta make sure I don't turn into any pictures, because there is a lot of not safe for work and demonetization, is that even a word, of the YouTube video, because some of them are really detailed. This is Stefan Shajic. Oh, he went on to do Aquaman and books like that, but this is his work where he is writing it and drawing it, and I already had to edit out some stuff because there is a lot of nudity and sexual content in this book. These are some of the most safe for work pictures, but let's look at the volume 2. So she chose this book to read for Old Reader, New Reader, which is on hiatus right now, but we will be back sometime this month, I promise. It's just our schedules were so conflicting during the holidays and during the first couple of weeks of March. So yeah, his artwork, his women, oh my God, they are drop dead gorgeous. I love his art. Let's look at some of these extras here in the back, though. I even have to be careful with some of the extras in the back, so I may not be able to show much. But, yeah, gorgeous. No idea what it's about yet. I can't wait to read it, to give my opinion on it, but Maddie seems to love it. And it's one of those books that either gets, look at that, it's so badass, gets highly praised, or people look down on it because of, you know, sexual content or whatever. So next up, we have Deathbed. I haven't heard much talk of this. This is Joshua Williamson, who I really enjoy, and Riley Rossmo on artwork. No idea what this is about, but really, really digging this art style. It's sketchy, it's cartoony, it's a good mix. Kind of reminds me of some of the Top Cow artists from back in the day. So a lot of the guys that did stuff for Witchblade and The Darkness, and of course Cyberforce. But really excited to read that. Farmhand Volume 2. The Amazing Amanda and I really loved Volume 1, so I cannot wait to read this one. Maybe I'll get Amanda to read this with me, and maybe we can review it for a special Reviews in a Flash, have her come back. Because I really want to bring that segment back, Reviews in a Flash. So that's one of my things. So here's Ed Brislin's Cluster with artwork by Damien Cuchetto. I think Damien Cuchetto is the gentleman that did like the Sons of Anarchy comic that I read some of that digitally because some of you all were telling me to read it. His artwork is really awesome. So this is a really cool book. This is, of course, in the future, and Earth sends a bunch of warriors to its colonies to defend it against like alien invasions. Now, I ended up reading this one during my Christmas break, and it was one of the most fun books I've read. Which is why I need to bring back Reviews in a Flash. So I'm a big fan of Ed Brisson, but the artwork is what really kept me reading. It is a badass and fun story, and that is about the best way I can describe it without spoiling it. Next up, we have Justin Jordan and Raul Trevino's Sombra. And Sombra, of course, means shadow. Again, no idea what this is about. This is actually the first time I'm cracked open the book, so I can't flip too much through here. Damn, that looks pretty cool. So maybe there's some Spanish characters in here. Justin Jordan. You may remember me talking about Luther Strode. I was a big fan of that book. And that's who wrote the book, Luther Strode, was Justin Jordan. But this artist, Raul Trevino, I'm not familiar with, but I'm kind of digging his Tim Sale-ish anime-looking style. Now, this next book almost made it into my top 10 of 2019. This is Scotty Young and Jorge Corino's, I think Corona, like the beer. Why did I forget that? Middle West. About a young boy and acts of nature. That's all I will say. You gotta read this. This is a lot of fun. This is some really good stuff that I wasn't expecting, because I wasn't expecting Scotty Young to be... Man, sometimes I'm so biased because I'm so used to him being an artist. To transition into being a writer, I don't expect much, right? Like, there are some cases where, holy shit, this writer's really good. Such as the case of Frank Miller. But, you know, then there's other times when you're like, oh man, you should stick to drawing. But this was so good that, you know, he's written some stuff before, like, what was it, Rocket Raccoon, and a couple things for Marvel, like he wrote Deadpool, and that was okay. But this, man, this was really good. Oh, and I Hate Fairyland. I did enjoy that, but I think this is so much better, and I hope this gets a deluxe hardcover collection. Okay, next up is another Kyle book. I have no idea what this book is about. I love when he finds me things like this. This is Buffalo Speedway. A Slice in the Life of a Pizza Boy, the Deep Dish Omnibus. I don't even know who this publisher is. Is it... Okay, it's Devastator Publishing, I guess? Yeah, turbopizza.com. No idea what this is about. I have never heard of this. But, you know, Kyle's pretty spot on. He knows me really well. He knows what I'll end up liking. And because I've told him, you know, some of the stuff that he sent me that I'm like, this is not for me. But some stuff, I'm like, oh my God, this was amazing. Completely blew me away. So... You know, right now the art looks like a independent comic book. Some would say amateurish, but you know, there's some magic and beauty behind that to me. You read comics long enough, you realize not everything has to be Jim Lee. I know that's to me the epitome of art. But yeah, this looks pretty interesting. Alright, so I will be giving this a shot. This is 5 Ghosts, the deluxe edition. By the way, for the longest time, this is written by Frank Barbieri. Oh my gosh, why? Barbieri. And Chris Mooneyham. That's a little bit easier. But this is the deluxe edition, volume 1. It says volume 1 down here, so I don't know if there's going to be a volume 2. But I was going to say, for the longest time, I got this and Tokyo Ghost confused. Because I knew Rick Remender was working on a book that had the title Ghost on it, so I thought it was this book. As a matter of fact, I remember picking up the first... Oh God, yeah, that's right. I did pick up the first issue of this. And I thought it was Sean Murphy's artwork. I'm like, man, Sean Murphy, you know, it's good, but I remember him being less sketchier and he was more detailed, so I don't know what's going on with his artwork. And then I realized, oh, crap, it's not Tokyo Ghost. It's 5 Ghosts. So that's what my story behind this is. As far as what the story is about, it's the story of Fabian Gray, this guy right here, as he battles literary characters with his newfound powers. That's all I remember. I'm surprised I remembered the dude's name. And he travels through different places all over the world, of course, because of books. So that's a pretty cool premise. And that is 5 Ghosts, the last book of the haul. And that was my final haul for 2019. Now, all these books can be purchased from cheapgraphicnovels.com, your online home for brand new graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. Cheap Graphic Novels prides itself in packaging your books so they arrive safely and in excellent condition, as well as prompt and helpful service. Cheap Graphic Novels Black Friday sale is continuing all through December, so there's still time to save up to 95% off thousands of books. Additional books will be added throughout the month, so be sure to check back often and stay tuned to CGN on social media to be the first to know when the new books have been added to the sale. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discounts, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that sale is still going on for a couple more weeks. Now, let me know in the comments down below what you all ended up buying, or what you all ended up getting for Christmas, what you're excited for in January. I'd love to know those comments. Again, this was the Uncanny Omar. Thank you for watching, and remember, if it's classy and cool, it must be near mint.